There was an idea, Stark knows this, called TBR Assemble. The idea was to bring together a group of remarkable prompts to see if they could become something more, to see if they could work together when we needed them to fight the TBR that we never could. Hey everyone, and welcome to our new and improved TBR Assemble. So as you can see, TBR Assemble has changed quite a lot in terms of the game board, and it's not the only change I have made. I will show you a bit of a close-up before I get into the roles and explain all the new rules, but essentially I'm going to be climbing Avengers Tower this time instead of going in an annoying, boring little infinity thing. So this is my new game board, and it's not the only change I've made. I have also gotten rid of my little tiny bits of paper. I will be using those admittedly for a TBR jar, which is part of this, but I have now changed my prompts to being on cards, and it's the exact same principle as last time in terms of like the different colours, and each one represents a different character and each character has a different prompt, but it's essentially now looking like this, which is going to be far easier to shuffle, and it just generally looks better. So with that, let's get into the close-up and then into the roll. Okay, so the rules for this are basically the same as my previous TBR Assemble, only I'm going to be working my way up the Avengers Tower. Now, each of these numbers here I've got from 1 to 85, and each of these numbers are in a different colour, and each colour then represents a different set of cards. They are the same colours as last time, so green is comics, blue is space, red is retellings, purple is fantasy, and then yellow is basically own voices and things like this. So that is all the colours. There's also orange on here as well, and that represents the soul stone, and that is the same as always, which is fan fiction. Apart from that, I've just gotten rid of the point system because, quite frankly, I wasn't using the point system. I was completely ignoring it after a while, so I've just completely gotten rid of that, and just basically the goal is to get up to 80, and what I'm going to do is sort of remember where I was each time and start there until I get up to 85. I don't know what I'm going to do when I reach 85, but we'll get there when we get there, essentially. Also though, these are the cards, so each one's got a different character on it and a different prompt. Most of the prompts are the same as last time, but it's just easier to shuffle with these ones, so that's what I'm gonna do. There's a couple of really fun prompts in here, so both of my Hawkeye prompts have a special sort of like little challenge where I've got to use an archery set to pick out a prompt that way. I've also got a TBR jar, which I admittedly actually need to fill, so I'm hoping I don't get that, and just generally it's basically the same prompts and all the rest of it, same idea, so let's get going. And today's little avatar is going to be this little Lego Matt Murdock, because why not, essentially. If you've seen any of the latest Marvel stuff, you know why I'm using Matt. So let's start at number 1 here. I'm just going to have to lay him down for a minute because he's not standing up because it's the edge, and let's roll number 1. It's a 1, so that is onto the orange, which is fanfiction. Great start. Roll 2 is a 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. That is blue, so I'm going to shuffle these cards a bit and then pick at random, so please ignore my shuffling skills. I have never shuffled anything in my life, so I don't know quite what I'm doing here. I'm hoping to get better over the course of the year. So I think that's pretty shuffled, and then I'm just going to pick at random, and I'm going to pick this one, and that is the TVA, a time travel book. Ooh, interesting. My first prompt was fanfiction, and quite frankly, I'm not telling you what fanfiction I'm reading because, quite frankly, I don't know. That is more of a mood ready type thing for me, so I'll figure that out when I get the time to read said fanfiction. But my first actual prompt was TVA, which is to read a book about time travel. So for this, I'm going to be reading the entire Age of Apocalypse event, or at least starting it. And Age of Apocalypse is a huge comic event which focuses on the fallout after the comic Legion quest, which I read like 2-3 years ago. I read it a very long time ago, essentially, and it's focusing on the idea that Legion, who is the son of Charles Xavier, has gone back in time, hence the time travel, to kill Eric, aka Magneto, thinking it's going to make his father's life easier, but he accidentally kills Charles instead, and the Age of Apocalypse is the knock-on effect from that. So what happened when Charles has died? And essentially what has happened is the fact that Apocalypse, a super powerful one of the original mutants, has come back down to Earth again 10 years earlier than was expected, and Charles wasn't there to stop him. So he's essentially taken over the world, and I'm very excited to read this. I've been wanting to read it for a while now. I'm hoping it's going to work out better for me than Legion Quest did, because Legion Quest was a bit of a disappointment, but we'll see what happens. But either way, very excited to read it, and very excited to start off with the TVA and some time travel. Roll 3 is another 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a red one, actually. I thought that was orange. No, that's red. So time for another shuffle, just to make sure. And then gonna go for this one. This one's calling to me, and that is Beast, a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Okay then. My second prompt was Beast, which is Beauty and the Beast retelling. So for this I'm going to be focusing on The Twisted Tale as Old as Time, which is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, focusing on the idea of what happens if the witch who cursed the beast to become a beast was Belle's mother. This one has been on my shelves for a very, very long time. I've been seeing these books everywhere recently because this is a whole series. I have seen it everywhere on Bookstagram and all the rest of it, so I am desperate to read it. I've had this on my shelves for like 3 years now, so it's time to get it off the list, and it is also one of the books that I really wanted to tackle this year, so we're doing well. And then I also quickly forgot to mention that As Old as Time is also accounting for the Explorathon prompt, because I'm also doing Explorathon and also Be Sureathon, but this is counting for the Animal Companion Obstacle Course, which is to read a book with an animal on the cover, and admittedly this doesn't have an animal on the cover, but it does say Beast at the bottom, so I'm counting it. And also the alternative cover as well has the beast on it, and the beast is an animal, so that's why I'm counting it. Just don't judge me. Don't judge me. This is how I'm doing it. Leave me alone. Roll 4 is a 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so that's another red one, actually. So I'll put that back again. I'll have to figure out some better anchors, but this one's now been shuffled, so I'm not going to shuffle it again, but I'm going to go for this one, and that is Valkyrie, an ebook. My next prompt was Valkyrie, which is to read a retelling ebook, so for that I'm going to go for the next one in the Fable series, and I'm very, very excited for this. This is a graphic novel series, which is sort of like Once Upon a Time for adults, in the sense that all of the fairy tale characters have been cursed out of fairyland and are now in New York, and they all live in a gated community together, and that kind of thing. Only in this world they actually remember who they are, and I really, really enjoy this series. I've been desperate to continue it for a while now, so cannot wait to read the next one in this series. Fifth roll is a 1, so that's over to 17, which is orange, so that is fanfiction again. So what I'm going to do is just go over 1 as well, because I've already got fanfiction on the list. Don't get in the way, Matt. Right, let's shuffle again. Because it went onto green, I forgot to say it's now on green because I moved it. Right. I'm going to call that shuffled enough. Going to go this way as well and pick this one, and that is Billy and Tommy, an LGBTQI+ author or main character. My next prompt was Billy and Tommy, which is to read an LGBTQIA+ author or main character in a graphic novel. So for this I'm going to be going for Iceman Volume 2, which is called Absolute Zero, and this one is following Iceman, aka Bobby, who is actually gay, and the first one covered him coming out to his friends and family and things like this, and then the second one I think is also following on from that idea. I'm very, very excited to read this one. I loved Thawing Out so much, so I cannot wait to read Absolute 0, and it is also accounting for the prompt of 500-meter dash and also LGBTQIA plus representation for the Be Sure-a-thon. And then today's final roll is another 1, so up to 19. That's onto this section here, which is fantasy, so right. And then I'm gonna go for this one here. That is I Went for the Head, a book over 500 pages. And then my final prompt was I Went for the Head, which is to read a book over 500 pages. Now, I was originally scared, and then I remembered I need to read Skullduggery Replays and Bedlam for the Dead Famous read along. And this is 608 pages, so it's definitely over 500. This is the 12th book though in the Skullduggery Pleasant series, which is about a magical skeleton detective as he tries to save the world with his partner Valkyrie, came from various magical threads. I've been reading this for years now, and the Dead Famous read along has been going since like February, I think, last year, February, March time. Either way, it's been going since like last year now, and I'm very excited to read this one. I have never read this one, and I don't know what this one's about. I've deliberately not looked, but I'm so excited to read this because I've been waiting for it for a very long time. And also, this is the one I picked up from Yauk and got Derek Landy to sign for me in 2019, so very, very excited to read this. And then this is also counting for 2 separate prompts. The first one is the Animal Companion riding race, and then also Bones on the Cover. Animal Companion is for the Explorathon, and then Bones on the Cover is for Be Sure-a-thon, and it's Bones on the Cover because Skullduggery is a skeleton and that's his skull, which are bones, so that's why I'm counting it. But as per always, this is not the end of my TBR. I've got a few other things that I want to mention, so let's get into it. First thing I've got to mention is Over the Woodward Wall by A. Deborah Baker, aka Shauna Maguire. This is the spin-off thing from the Middle Game book, where this is sort of like the story within the story kind of thing, so it's that kind of idea. I'm very excited to read this one. I loved Middle Game last year, so I cannot wait to read this one. And this one is for the Portal Fantasy prompt for the Be Sure-a-thon, so very excited, very quick read, cannot wait. I've then also got The Stone Sky as well, which is the 3rd book in the Broken Earth trilogy, and it's a sci-fi fantasy type idea set in this post-apocalyptic type world where there's a 5th season and essentially everything is dying, everybody is dying, and it's essentially apocalyptic. Like I said, I have really enjoyed the first 2. It's very, very good, very, very plot twisty, so cannot wait to finally read the final book and just round off this series essentially and complete another series for my goal, so very excited for that. This is also then counting for the Magic Tournament prompt as well as pick the closest book, because it was literally on a bookcase right here and it was basically the closest unread one on that shelf, so that's why I'm going to be reading it. And then the final thing I have to mention is Morbius the Living Vampire. Now, I don't know precisely which ones I'm going to be reading for this, but I'm basically going to be reading whatever I have time for, whatever I can get my hands on Marvel Unlimited, because fingers crossed, hopefully Morbius the Living Vampire will be coming out in the cinema in January, and I'm very excited. I love vampires. I'm not the greatest fan of Sony's like work in general in the Marvel universe, but I'm always here to watch it, quite frankly, so as long as I can safely watch it, I will be watching it. If not, I will be filling the hole in my chest where I should be watching it with comics, essentially, and I'll probably do a reading vlog for it as well, but we'll see how I feel and how it goes. But Morbius the Living Vampire is also on the list. And then I also quickly forgot one other book, and that is the Book of Vishanti. Now, this one is an in-universe Marvel book, which is basically all about the magic and everything else of the Marvel universe, and it's sort of supposed to be like the Book of Vishanti from the universe essentially, and it's going to be covered in little annotations and things like this from Doctor Strange himself, and my Doctor Strange nerd heart could not leave that on the shelves or leave it alone until Multiverse of Madness comes out, so I will also be reading this in January and dropping everything as soon as it arrives. And then also thinking about it, I also have the Wakanda files, which is written by Shuri, which is all about the technology of the Marvel Universe, but I don't know if that one's going to be arriving because it is on back order and it's going to take 1 to 2 weeks before it's even dispatched at the earliest, so I'm not putting it solidly on the list because it may not arrive. I don't know, but we'll see what happens there. I may read it if it arrives, or I may actually wait until Black Panther comes out. I don't know. I'll see how I feel when it arrives. And that, if I can hold it without it all dropping, is my TBR for January. Obviously there's a couple of pre-orders and things like this on there as well, but I'm very happy with that if you don't include the comics or the pre-orders either, because I'm sort of iffy on the pre-orders just in case they don't arrive for whatever reason. This is counting at 1,699 pages, which is incredibly doable, quite frankly. That is ridiculously doable, so I'm very happy with that stack. I'm very happy with how TBR Assemble round 1 went, so very excited, cannot wait, and let's get going with it. Very excited. I'm going to leave this video here, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me what you are reading in January. I'd love to know. Or if you don't have that much time, leave me a book related emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link down below to all of my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics. Or if books are more your thing, I'll also leave a link down below to my Redbubble and Etsy stores, which sells bookish merch and also bookish bullet journal stuff if you are interested. Or if you just want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!